All right, good. All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Monday, May 11th. Let's fucking go. Brand new week of opportunities, boys. Not much in terms of Iran headlines over the weekend, which I don't know if that's good or bad. But S&Ps are pretty much right where we left off last week, or down, a few points from where we closed on Friday. Crude is climbing a little bit. Iranians this morning came out and said that they deployed some deep submarines to the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know what that means. I didn't even know Iran had a submarine. Maybe they just, sunk a guy in a boat and was like, hey, it's a submarine now. So who knows? Trump is going to China. Economic headlines this morning. Forex Factory said there's nothing, but on Financial Juice, it says there's something at 10. Existing home sales. Yep. It's a yellow folder news event. So we're not really all that concerned about it. More than willing to trade through it, trade around it. It shouldn't really be all that impactful to the markets this week. I think the markets are more interested in any headlines relating to Iran and energy prices. So let's kind of see where the opening auction takes us this week. I don't want to get overly aggressive. It's Monday. I would highly doubt we have better news coming out tomorrow with CPI numbers. I got to imagine institutions, like always, on Mondays wait until Tuesdays to trend the market. And Mondays typically result in range type balance days. So we're going to keep that in mind. Very quickly looking at because the market's open in about 20 seconds. Market on the TPO chart. Kind of curious development since we left that balance area, composite balance area around 150. As we've talked about exhaustively about the composite area around 150, 160, the tests lower that got quickly rejected, refound balance around 150, 160, and now we're testing higher. But we've really yet to find good sustained balance above 150. I'm hopeful that based on the development of the TPO from Friday, that coming into Monday, now we start to develop that balanced range that the market can then use to launch further gains from. So if we can't find balance with probably the next few days, I would think that would be a precarious spot for the market. You don't want to remain imbalanced looking for value up here, because if you can't find it, the market's going to go back to the last place that it did find it, and that was 150, 160 area. So the market's got to find some balance up here. Imbalance on S&Ps at the opens, plus 50 million. That is not a statistically significant number, so we'll leave that alone. I want to primarily pay attention, I think, to S&Ps today. I will be mindful of crude and if crude does anything today. But I primarily want to watch S&Ps for the most part. S&Ps, my bread and butter. So we got a lot of time. It's Monday. We have the opening auction for the week and also the day. I kind of want to see where value starts to develop, what kind of range we form to the distribution, and then we'll kind of take it from there. And we'll start getting a little deeper into our analysis once we kind of develop an opening range a little bit. See where the volume comes in, see where the imbalances are, so on and so forth. But I think the name of the game today is let's just be patient. If we get a good opportunity, let's take it, but let's not be overly aggressive trying to take trades, especially any type of imbalance continuation trades, given that it is Monday, and I don't think today is going to result in any sort of trend type action. So I'm looking for balance. I'm hoping for balance. We'll see if we get balance, but let's let the open and auction play out, and then we'll take it from there. 12,000 contracts transacted in the first minute. That's pretty light again. That was the same thing on Friday. It was very light volume at the open, which, again, it kind of signifies that participants are not really interested at these price levels, right? If there was a lot of interest, a lot of participants, a lot of institutions were like, yeah, this is a great price, they'd be transacting right at the open. But they're not. So again, a lot of activity in the bid at the highs. Price isn't really moving down though. So there is some buyer absorption here. Large transaction, only one ever since the open at 420, another one at 420. Second one got absorbed. So buyer at 421. So some buyers at the open here, right? We saw the big sells and the big volume here. That was all on the bid, and price didn't move down. And so as a result, price shot up and cleared the offers. But you can't just rely on a single candlestick to be like, okay, this is now bullish flow or bearish flow. You have to put in context with all that's happening around it. But that was a good amount of volume that got transacted there at 420 and 419. But let's just be patient. Let's let a definable value range develop and definable, distribution for the day define itself, and then we can kind of go from there. Because we're right back in balance where we were from Friday, essentially. That's a pretty flat TPO time on Friday, meaning that you'll probably explore the tops of Friday's range. You'll at least look above it. What happens when you get there, I don't know, but you'll at least look above it probably. So a decent amount of activity on the offer here at 22 and 23. Price isn't really advancing. No more large contract activity outside of the last purchases at 420 and 421. So if you're a bull, you're probably hoping to hold 420. Peak at crude's development, a very tight balance range for crude. Not a whole lot going on. You get a good amount of activity on the bid at 23s, 23 and a half. All right, there was a good amount of activity on the offer, and price didn't advance very far. But now you got the activity on the bid, and see if bid can drag that down below 420. I still think that's going to be a little bit of an inflection point based off where those large contracts are. All right, so some dip buyers at 422. Trying to hold it. Keep our eye on the news. You never know. I think Trump is talking at a healthcare event this morning at 10:30, so he may mention something about Iran. I would expect maybe a little bit of volatility around 10:30. Anytime Trump tweets or talks, like there's always a little bit of volatility because he doesn't always say what he means. He doesn't always mean what he says. So it's the markets can interpret things both ways. Oh, stretch. And these volumes are pretty light this morning. There were already around 5,000 contracts per minute. That's pretty light. This isn't a very well developed range just yet. Like it's not very clear where the edges are or where the low volume areas are. So you got to allow this some more wiggle here. Patience, 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 patience for Monday. Let me check some headlines real quick and see what else is going on in the world. See what all the news agencies have to say for themselves. Reuters: Trump dismisses Iran's offer. Oil rises. Hormuz closure persists. Trump and Xi set for talks spanning Iran, nuclear trade, and AI. Yada yada yada. Cool. Cool. No one cares about virus on a cruise ship. On the journal, we've got Chi. Iran war hangs over China summit. Duh. Hantavirus. Duh. Private credit's hot streak is over. repo men are collecting on Spirit Airlines. Yeah, right. You're in the market for a good cheap jet. Spirit Airlines. Fire sale. Who else do I want to check? Will be gluttonous. New York Times. Trump and Chi, Trump and Chi, Trump and Chi. Cool. That's it. That is literally the end of the headlines. Trump and Xi. Trump and Xi, China summit. No news, Iran. And this is the result of that, right? Markets react to the news flow. And there's no news flow, so there's just really no market movement. Another buyer at 22 and a quarter. So large institutional activity here around this area, 420 to 422. Not huge size, but size. All right, now the question is, do you hold this level? Are they absorbed and are now going to get trapped, or are we going to be able to hold 420s and move higher? That's going to be the question. But I don't like the development of this distribution for the day already. It's very slow. The volume is so slow. The market is so slow. There's not a whole lot of anything. I don't want to force anything today. If I don't end up taking a trade today, I'm perfectly okay with that. Right, because there's no trade here. You need range, you need volatility, you need flow, you need news flow to drive order flow. Without both of which, you don't do anything. All right, crew's just doing a whole bunch of nothing burgers. So I'll leave that alone. I don't want to just jump in as we leave this 420 area, right? Just because there's a bunch of large buys in here. I don't necessarily just want to buy if we start breaking above. I don't necessarily just want to start selling if we break down below, right? Because it's right in the middle of the value area. It could just be liquidity. It's not like a directional trade. It's more like, hey, we're balancing in this area. There's bids out there. We can offer some contracts, blah, 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 and get filled on our large position here rather than being hopeful that we get filled somewhere else. So it could just be a liquidity need. It may have nothing to do with a directional trade idea, so to speak. My kids are home from school today and are screaming. Yikes. Yikes. Nope. I could never live in a condo or an apartment. My kids are too fucking loud. And I shouldn't say my kids are too fucking loud. My one kid. My son's on the spectrum. He's very boisterous and he's very loud. So good. Try to push out some outside of value. Create a tapered edge. A lot of activity here at the offer. Good amount of volume on the offers. You're trying to break away from the 20s. Trying to break above the prior swing high at 25. Not getting very far. Again, I ultimately think today, I mean, just based off these volumes, based off lack of news flow, which is now resulting in a lack of order flow and any sort of volatility, that just today is just a giant nothing burger. You find some balance in a small distribution range, and then that's it for the day. So save your powder for something better. But I'm just sit here and kick the shit for a little bit. See if anything happens anywhere in the world for us to do something. But reading individual candle order flow at this moment in time is just absolutely useless. It's not going to gain us anything. We're not going anywhere. Might as well just watch a YouTube or something. Watch the tubes. Trader Tom. I want to go watch the Shane Gillis roast of Kevin Hart. Big J Okerson was there. Big J. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. My YouTube algorithm is just absolutely all over the place now. All right, so you're trying to work higher. You're trying another buyer at 26. So I mean, the buyers are creating range. It doesn't seem to be like a liquidity level. You're kind of buying it up a little bit. But for like any type of imbalance continuation, you want a rejection of value. So you'd want the market to come back down, test value, reject that, and then that would be your imbalance continuation trade. I just don't think that today is that day. All right. It's like, if anything, I want to fade this. I want to fade the move back to value. I don't want to buy at value in hopes that we break higher on some crazy trend. And maybe today we trend. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong. And even with the lack of news flow, some big buyers are like, you know what, guys, everyone's sleeping. We're thinking we're not going to trend things today. Let's just take it. So a lot of activity here in the offer. Getting a good juice in. Back hurts. Another buyer at 430. So you've had buyers all the way up after the open from 420 up to 430. Yeah, I mean, you're adding some pretty decent volume up here. It's not gangbusters, but you're adding something. So you got a little absorption at the highs there around 434. A little imbalance on the offer. I mean, it's not completely imbalanced. I mean, we're offer heavy, but price is still moving up. So I'm more interested in watching a smoke jumper video right now than I am in these markets. Crazy job. And go parachute into a fire. So there's pretty good volume up here, right? Look at the volume you've developed within like a couple of minutes versus the volume you've developed over how many minutes, right? Like, this is good volume. And this isn't a very well-defined value area. This is why I don't like this. I don't like this distribution. And you're getting a lot of activity on the offer up here. It's pretty heavily imbalanced, and it's just not getting anywhere. But I don't necessarily like the idea of just shorting this, and with the trade idea being like, oh, okay, I don't like this. It's Monday. This should be a more normalized distribution, right? And fade this. I'm not exactly sure where a good stop placement would be, right? Because we're above the highs from yesterday, right? We're all-time highs right now. So where do we put our stop? Like I want some definition out of this distribution, some better defined low volume areas, a more tapered ledge, things like that. Things that give my eye better structure. Like, oh, okay, this is position. Oh, there's lack of interest here, right? Because right now I don't know what's above us. It hasn't been tested yet. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. Whole lot of nothing. So let's see what happens when we come back to this kind of low value area and value. Right, there is a bit of a low volume area here at 429, 430. It's a little more clear on the weekly distribution chart than it is here on the daily. But I mean, this is not a very well-defined low volume area. This is a defined volume area, but this is not a well-defined low volume area, and this is not a well-defined value area high. Rapid truck driver. Royal plus a straight flush. Oh, wait, someone had a straight flush and then someone had a royal. Watch this. Dan the Jungle Man. Pause. Let's see what they have. So Jungle Man's got the straight flush. Rampage has got two pair. He's got two pair. And he calls them. Oh, wow. 10, ace, queen. He's missing the jack. How is that? Oh, it comes on the river. Holy fuck. He gets a straight flush and then he gets a royal flush. My god. All right, so pick up an activity here on the bid in this low volume area. And pay attention to this now. See what kind of happens here in the 430s. Buyer at 436. Buyer at 430. I just don't know if we have the fuel for a trend here, folks. It doesn't seem like we do. And this is a lot of activity on the bid, and you're going freaking nowhere with it, right? I mean, this doesn't overall seem very heavy on the offer. Not adding anything. 139. And it's hard to add contracts above here, right? Like these rotations up into 435 and a half just didn't garner a lot of volume, right? It was hard to add contracts there, and it was mostly on the offer. And activity on the bid here at 433. I mean, if price stays above kind of 434 on that close, which it didn't, and it didn't really here. There's a lot of bid activity, and price stays below. A lot of bid activity here, price stays below it. Yeah, that might have been a short right there when we saw that. To come back into the range and fill this in, right? Your ultimate take profit was probably somewhere down 424s on a mean reversion. Seller at 430 and 3/4. But also, if you get a bunch of bid activity here and price moves up, that wouldn't be good for the short thesis and will be better for the long. But yeah, I mean, we're coming kind of deep into value here, right? If this was the value area high at 434, like 431 is kind of a deep retracement in there. Then you had some buyers down at 430. So we're not heavily imbalanced on the bid here, right? So it kind of balanced. This is balanced volume for the most part. So the market's not rejecting value at all. This is not a imbalance continuation type day, folks. I mean, I think that really just compares it for you. So ideally, if this is a just balanced day and we're doing mean reversion type trades, let's test back outside value again, get a rejection, heavy activity on the offer that goes nowhere, and then we'll short it back to the POC. And that's my game plan for right now. I don't want to buy here in the middle of value on hopes that we're going to break outside value. It's a bad spot. We don't have a very well defined low volume area, not a very well defined value area high. So the reference areas suck. A lot of activity on the offer at 430.06 and price went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. I mean, pretty noticeable gap in the TPO charts, just above 7,300. Right, it goes from 300 to almost 330 during the U.S. cash session. Another seller at 430, another seller at 430. So we just had three very large sellers at 430. All right, that was a lot of contracts that just came in there, all selling. That's kind of a crazy ledge you just put right there. That was a lot of volume in a very short period of time. Someone got their price for sure. So let's now see what happens with this 430, because now this distribution is completely jacked up. This value area makes absolutely no sense. These low volume areas are so incompletely defined. Just, yeah, this is just terrible structure. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I mean, we had a little bit of a range here, but I mean, not very well defined. Like I'm trying to think, like we come up on the underside of this range right here at 432, get activity on the offer that gets absorbed, quick rejection. Is that a short? I don't know. I want to say no. But then watch as it comes up and actually starts to do what we're talking about here. You come up on 33 and 34, and it resists heavy activity on the offer. What should you do? What should you do, folks? What should you do? Now the POC has moved up to that 430. So a mean reversion trade at 34 back to 30 in hopes that you get to 22. But I mean, look at all that activity on the offer right here. It's heavily imbalanced on the offer, and price isn't getting above it. Right at 34, right at the bottom of that range. And then price quickly moved right back down to the POC. Let's see what else is going on in the world. Whole lot of nothing. Read some zero hedge speculative news. Very wide gap between US and Iranian positions. Yeah, duh. Key events this week: CPI, PPI, retail sales, and Trump Xi summit. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some news headlines this week, which lends credence to the idea that the market today just does absolutely nothing. Khomeini orders Iran's army to continue decisive operations. Yeah, you get a little balance on the offer up here at 434. No, I don't have outdated drivers. Go fuck yourself. UX exists in home sales. In line with expectations. No news, nothing burger. Just no trades. I'm gonna go yell at my kids to get off the television. Hold on. Hey, MJ's. MJ, take a break from the TV if it's still on, please. Take a break from the TV. Yeah, I said take a break. Yeah, I didn't know if the TV was on, so I was asking you if the TV was on. Okay. Boys. What's up? Did you drink that last one? Yeah. What? A whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of nothing. Tight range, volumes less than 3,000 contracts per minute now. I get the impression the market's not interested at these price levels right now. I just want to get a more definable value range, more clear low volume areas. Like, you're just not getting it right now. The market is very slow, not a lot of volume being added. So, not really interested in trading this right now. I want to look at, where is the SPR, Strategic Petroleum Oil Reserve? Oh, we started drawing it down again. Boop. So here's Joe Biden. Drastically reduces our oil reserves to maintain low oil prices because of his disastrous Inflation Reduction Act that spiked energy prices. And because he didn't want his voters to know that he was spiking energy prices, he drained our strategic oil reserve from almost 700,000 barrels down to 350,000 barrels. So he drained it by almost half. When Trump came in, they started buying, but now they're draining it again. So not good. Not fucking good. And then if we look at, is this it? These are our oil supplies, excluding SPR in Cushing, Oklahoma. So we're kind of down near lows of our domestic oil supply. And then, where's the last one? This is field production. So field production is good in the United States. We're producing good oil. The problem is we export most of our oil. We don't domestically consume it because it's not the greatest oil. We like that good stuff from Saudi Arabia. But you just saw two graphs where the oil supplies in the United States are drastically dwindling, and they're dwindling fast. And if you open up the Strait of Hormuz, does all that oil come back online? Not necessarily. And if you guys are not familiar, there is a gentleman on YouTube, Peter Zion, gave a one of his like 7-8 minute walk and talks the other day about oil supplies in the Middle East and how they're not going to come back online, and there's very likely going to be shortages and rationing here in the United States. And he is a absolute expert on all things relating to natural resources and demographics and national policies, and I kind of believe him. So, there could potentially be a huge oil shock that the market just absolutely just does not appreciate right now. So we'll see. Crude oil, what are you doing, crude? Crude's trying to break out of value. There aren't very big numbers in crude. Not big at all. Part of what I don't like trading crude is how illiquid it is. So lots of activity here on the offer as we get up towards 434. All right, market doesn't seem very able to get very high here. Starting to get a little more definable if you look on the, it's the same distribution, but the width at which it takes up on the screen, and it makes it look a little smoother. Like, you're starting to get some roundness to this upper distribution here that's forming around 432 with a definable edge around 436 and a low volume area around 428. So this is kind of the range that we're stuck in for the moment. And then to right above the highs from Friday. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of activity on the offer and you just got absolutely nowhere with it. Another buyer at 433. 168 contracts. Yeah, I mean, predicting the break of this range right now, I think is foolhardy. Honestly, I want to be a seller more than I am a buyer right now. It's just I don't have a very good case for a trade. Right, because if you're doing like mean reversion type trades, like you got to be like towards a value area edge or the edge of the actual distribution, and we're right in the middle of this upper distribution. Like this is the distribution that the market is now interested in. So like technically the value area is up here at like 437 and the value area low is like 428. Based off what this distribution is, not the fact of like where it is overall based on all this volume down here, which seems pretty irrelevant at the moment. I mean, we're kind of balanced. You do get activity on the bid at the highs, you get activity on the offer at the lows a little bit. So this is kind of a balanced range. I would like to see it kind of test one way or the other and reject it, and then we'll kind of know that it wants to go the other way. But I'd rather do a test first before I enter any sort of trade. I mean, just you cannot get above this 434 here, despite all the purchasing. Just gets absorbed. Price does not move up. But also price then doesn't move down, you know? So it's just, for the moment, this is agreement. Everyone's getting their liquidity needs filled, but the volume here is just dropping off a cliff. Right? We are sub 2000 for like 4 of the last 5 minutes and maybe like 6 of the last 8 minutes. All right, there's just no volume to be done here. I don't think the market's very interested up here. All right, we saw it at the opening volume from Friday, and we saw the opening volume today. Like, I would like to get a higher price. Maybe do a short at like 434, 435 if you can get there. I don't want to short it at 432. I don't think there would be many. Like, I think the extent of a move would be like to test the lows of the distribution or the value area low, possibly just testing the low volume area at 427, 428. Like, I don't suspect, like, again, no trend day today. So that includes a trend day down. There's an absolute breakdown in prices. You got an imbalance on the bid at 432 and price did not move below it. Yeah, it's a very tight range. Market's good for now. Like, essentially the trade is going to become, because if you look, you're really getting some definition and some roundness to this distribution around 433. Like, the trade is going to become the leaving of this area and then like the retest. You fade or support the retest of this volume area that is forming around 433. Yeah. Yeah, there's really, yeah. Because it depends. So you can either do mean reversion trades here, right? This is a balanced distribution. But if you suspect that the distribution is final, right? You're running out of volume here. You're getting in the last minute, right? There's only 1,300 contracts transacted. Like, the market is not interested in being here. Like, this is little to no volume being transacted. And so the next question is, do you go higher or do you go lower? You don't know yet. You don't know yet. Maybe we'll get some resolution as we start to test like the ranges, the edge of the range, 430 and 435. But I mean, just sitting around the POC, just not doing anything. There is no news flow. Some of the White House needs to pick up Trump's Twitter and say that aliens are real or something. Get these markets moving, bro. I mean, if we come up here at 435 again and get pretty imbalanced on the offer up here and price stays below, I mean, that's a trade idea. Shorting back to the low volume area at 428 as your first target, hoping that you get maybe through the POC. All right, lots of activity on the offer. Not gaining much volume up here at all. And I'm going to sell it at 435 and a half. I'll stop it at 440. You know what? 440 and a quarter. And then I'm going to sell a piece at 28. Okay. I would have liked the price to stay below this activity here, to be quite honest. And I don't like the activity on the bid right here. But I just don't think you're getting a lot of volume on this test higher. Right, all the activities coming in the offer, and it's not really moving price very far. It doesn't. That's at least what it feels like to me at the moment. But I want to stay below the offer activity. I don't want to be closing above the offer activity. All right, just do a little peak above your last swing high, 437, 438, and then let that be the high, please. And come back down, move through the POC. See, I don't like how this is staying above at all. Yeah, we might be a little too early. I'm willing to let it play out, though. Reason I put the stop at 440 and a quarter is because there's a large buy at 440, which the market might be actually targeting. Yeah, which I think it might be targeting. All right, part of me wants to make it like 441 just because if it takes 440 and then like that's the catalyst to reverse. All right, I'll make it 441. All right, see, because then the liquidity at 440 went away. As soon as the market tried to take it, it just went away. It was a bluff. It was a bluff, folks. Liquidity wasn't there. Seller at 439 and a half. So the rest of their sellers are still down at 430. Buyer bought at 440. And you want some big activity to come in here and start pushing things back down. Yeah, we're kind of adding a little too much volume up here. And there's still a little too much bid activity. This isn't one-sided. This is balanced, it looks like. Unless something changes in a moment. But I'm pretty sure, fairly certain you're going to get stopped out on this one for sure. Fairly certain. Another seller at 439. Right? That's not, you would want to see buyers. You want to see buyers trapped up here. You don't want people. So there's a good amount of activity up here, right? We got buyers and sellers at 439, so you're easily going to test 441 now. There's enough volume here to push you higher to test 441. Might as well just try to get out. Here, hit my exit button. Cancel all my orders as we sweep 441, and then the market is going to quickly reverse. Go back to the POC. Yeah, we're probably just a little early on that. Still adding enough volume up here, where the market is still of interest at these prices. Like, you need volume to taper off. It's not really doing that just yet. This should have been, I think, a little bit of a warning sign that this was not going to work, right? Because we're shorting like here, but the price did not stay below the offers. So I think we might have been just a little too impatient on that one. Like, you want all the activity to be on the offer, but you don't want price to hold above it. So now there are no more ideas, because there's no imbalance continuation trade here. This is just, now we're kind of just looking for the better spot to revert this. All right, heavy on the, this is a very flat top here. There's a heavy absorption here. Take a look at ES. There's liquidity above. Good amount of liquidity above. See if we can take 441 and a quarter, then 443s. Yeah, he's speaking in the Oval Office. Yeah, there's probably going to be some volatility. I don't know if he's talking yet. No, he's not talking yet. All this activity is just being absorbed here. All right, people are buying into it, but see how price just goes absolutely nowhere. Wow, that's wild. How flat this top is now. There's just like unlimited reloads right here. Like, you're just hacking the system, unlimited reloads. I feel like you break this though. All right, flat tops usually get broken. But that was some pretty wild absorption right there. Someone just kept on hitting market buy, and then price just kept on going nowhere. Well, part of me wants to fade this right now. But you're not quickly rejecting this at all, right? You're just hovering around this flat top. Flat tops got broken. Like, yeah, I'll leave this alone. Right back. Yeah, don't do anything. Just sit with it. This market sucks today. It's not worth trading. I would highly doubt I'd do anything else for the rest of this morning. One stab didn't work. Done now. Because this is just a whole lot of nothing. There's no news. There's no nothing. Tom Hogarth's killing it like always. Bastard. Yeah, he's long. He's kind of long and some crazy prices though. Like, how long are we gonna do this up here, right? Starting to get a pretty good tapered ledge. All right, pretty flat top. We'll do it again. 440 and a quarter. Stop 445. One at 433. All right, make it 434. And so we'll tighten one step as you get down towards 434. Hopefully we can get through this low volume area at 438. There's a lot of absorption up here. Right? If you're hoping like, oh, I'm going to buy and break them, like, that's a pretty heavy wall. You now have to break. And this wasn't exactly a flat top. You gradually got higher, but kept on getting absorbed and absorbed and absorbed. Like whoever this is up here absorbing is glad to do it at any price above 440. So let's get some volume picked up. The volume speed up here just it was dead and it was just all absorbed. There's no volume, right? Even as you peaked above, it just did not garner much more volume. So I'm happy to short it again. All right, at least quarter break even. Make sure you guys can see that. So as this gets closer to 434, I'll tighten this one. Because I'm willing to take profit anywhere in here. I worry about any rejection of this ledge. All right, filled on part of it. And so I'll leave this stop at 37. And we'll trail this part and see if we can break 433. If not, we're out at 437. but a lot more volume on the decline, right? 3,000 contracts, 4.5. And hopefully this leaves us with some slight profits for the day. But I mean, it'd be nice if this could just snap right through this 433 PLC. And we've stopped 436.6. Like if it just wants to, break down a little bit, we'll let it break down 435-ish. Like I don't, is this really going to get all the way down? It could. It's a pretty good downdraft. It's a pretty good trade. I mean, that was recognizing the difference between a flat top and a gradually increasing top that was just continually just being absorbed. All right, you got that ledge at 430. All right, that's that ledge from this morning. That breaks. I mean, you could really go to the lows. So we'll just keep this one trail on 434. Stop. I kind of want to allow it to test 433 and reject it. But any test of rejection of 433, move the stop again. But out at 434 if it can't hold the POC. Because there potentially just could be a retracement right now. You're coming up on this 430 ledge, right? There's no volume below it. So might get stopped on our final piece at 434. If good trade if we did. Good trade if we did. Manage it in the exact way I wanted to. Took profit on a piece. And it's not heavily imbalanced on the bid down here, right? Like you're getting activity on the offer, which is good for lower prices. If you think this market is going to go lower, that's pretty good. Right? We closed through all this bid activity. This was heavily imbalanced on the bid, right? But price closed through it. That's what you want. Potentially this comes up to 437 now. Like it holds this and then comes back up here, maybe fills this in. Maybe 430 is the absolute bottom today, right? Sellers are very active here at 441. There you go. Break it down. Nice, bro. Nice. All right, let's follow it down a little bit. 430 stop. Nice. Very nice. Make it easy. And this is why you leave a little bit of a run around in case it just wants to fucking hang itself a little bit. All right, I'm comfortable still at 430. If we get down to like 419, I think 425 is appropriate for the stop. 427.5. All right, I'm gonna get a little greedy because we're coming down far. Like that was a pretty good move. And we caught most of all of it. And we're gonna get stopped at 427.5. And we're gonna hold. It's like I want to move to 428. Up too late. All right, we're out the last part at 427.5. Great trade. I mean, that broke down. I mean, this was just buyer absorption. The slow rotational ticks up, and then just price would not move. Like you barely were getting anywhere despite all that offer activity. We'll see if I would have been right in moving this to 428. It'll probably still get wicked in. Stopped out, but yeah, I don't know what to make of this distribution, to be quite honest, right now. I think it'll only be conclusive when it's done because right now I don't. It's definitely not an imbalance continuation to the upside. That's definitely don't we what you don't have. But are we going to balance here above 420, or is this going to break down? Right, because we can't find balance up here. Yeah, you would have been stopped out at 428 as well, anyway. But slightly profitable day now, so that's good. That was a good trade. It broke down the right time in the right place. But we still got time for another one. But we don't want to be greedy. And I don't want to trade the POC either. Even though we just rejected distribution highs, went down through the POC, and now we're coming up on the underside of it. Is it a trade where we fade to out of value? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Like, it's still, it's probably a good trade for someone. It's not my trade. Let's put it that way. It's not my trade. Because the POC is right in the middle of distribution. You get a lot of volume coming in around the POC, a lot of volatility. It goes slightly down, slightly up, and just whipsaws around the POC, and it can just absolutely destroy you. So I don't like trading around the POC a lot of times. Except on, like, if I perceive the distribution to be complete, then you trade around the POC. A lot of activity. See all that activity on the bid, and now prices staying above. So it's definitely not a short at the POC. Like, you would want all that activity to have been on the offer, right? All, the blue, like blue, baby blue, and then price to have stayed below. That would be a short. But it didn't. It did the complete opposite. It found support at the POC. So no trade there. Maybe now the next trade becomes a test of the value area high at 437. It is somewhat better defined now because it sits right kind of in the middle of this low volume area, which you can see better on the weekly. So that's an overlapping point of reference. Higher probabilities happen when you have overlapping points of reference. A low volume area that conjoins with a value area high, value area low, yada, yada, yada. And so you're starting to get the imbalance on the offer up here in 434s. All right, and the quick injection on the bids. So let's see if there's a large amount of selling at 428 again, and that gets held up. But there's been large sellers at 431 and a half, 431, 429, all within the last couple of minutes, last 5 minutes. I wonder if Trump opened up his mouth at something at this point. I'm considering renewing Project Freedom at 1031. That was here. Could it just be delayed headline? I don't know. I do not know. I do not know. We'll still hang out for the next 20 minutes, see if we can't get another opportunity. And I want a good one. I want like a value area high, a value area low type test move, rejection, absorption, something along those lines. I'm not going to chase it. Check in with some things while we wait. I didn't do any of those things. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. See what other people are up to this morning. Yeah, she's not trading. Ain't doing shit. Yeah, typical. Crude oil. What are you doing, baby? What are you doing, baby? Oh, crude oil finally garnered some volume. Found some people interested. Trying to break outside value. Doing a pretty good job. Trendy-ish. You're trying to hold this previous range, which aligns with the value area high. That's good. Not overwhelmingly all on the offer, which is good. I'll leave it alone. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to confuse myself. Lots of activity on the bid here, and you're not getting any lower on S&Ps. So we got a good price, man. 427 and a half, right? Pretty good. These price isn't really getting below all this bid activity here, right? Or they're just being absorbed, and you're right at that 430 ledge. So this isn't a buy up to like the low volume area at 438. No, I think this is a sell at 438, back down to 430, back down to balance. And if you're a bull, this is what you want, right? You want the market to balance here. You would really not want the market to peak above Friday's high and then just imbalance lower. That would have been terrible. People would have panicked and sold. Panicked and sold. I think I'm going to buy some USO options today. Right? Because inventories are just absolutely dwindling for oil. And our strategic reserve, they're dwindling at Cushing. They're not coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. Refineries are being shut in. Like, it's not fucking good. It's not good for global energy supply. So we'll, put a little bet on. See what happens. I also want to check in on agricultural futures products, wheat, corn, soybeans. I used to trade those very successfully. I'm going to check in on those and see kind of where the trend on those are going. There's an ETF, David Boy Alpha DBA, that tracks agricultural products. And if we're short on natural gas coming out of the UAE, which is the primary source for nitrogen, which is used in fertilizer, if that can't get out of the Middle East, the farmers are not going to have the nitrogen. Yields are going to be much lower than anticipated, and agricultural product prices will skyrocket. So I might actually do that one as well today. So we're going to do. So maybe DBC. So there's another one, DBC, which is the commodity one. So there's the agricultural DBA, and then there's commodity DBC. But I have to look to see what DBC includes. Because I think DBC also includes things like gold and silver, which I don't necessarily want to be part of my bet, part of my trade. Right? Because I'm really betting that oil prices go higher, and that leads to higher inflation in agricultural products because of the shortage in nitrogen. We'll see. And it's pretty long-term bet. Like, I think I'm going to buy like 250-day options. It's going to be expensive, but I think it's a good bet. I think the probabilities are on my side. All right, if the crisis is really as bad as some people are making it out to be, and the market's just really not appreciating that fact, there's an asymmetrical risk to return prospect on this. Could be huge. Could be huge. So you see now how you're getting all this activity on the offer as you're approaching the value area high. Volumes are slowing. It's hard to rotate. All right, that's why I think you now come back down to 430s. I kind of wish I was a little quicker on that sell right there. I think that was a sell just as you got up there and there was no volume being added and the slow rotations, right? Like you're dwindling in volume again. There's 19,000 contracts straight here. I'm not 19,000, 1900. My God, less than 2,000. When it gets less than 2,000, markets move. See how less than 2,000, market moved. Less than 2,000, market's going to move. Market doesn't like less than 2,000. S&Ps don't like less than 2,000. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. But that part of me doesn't want to take a trade because it's already 10:45. Kids are home today from school. I am considering you can't renew Project Freedom. You're bluffing. You can't send your ships into the Strait of Hormuz because they blew up your early warning radars. You fucking moron. You're bluffing. Iran literally controls the Strait of Hormuz now. Before it was an international waterway, but now that the US bombed, now it's completely controlled by Iran. You fucking morons. And if you get a good push into 438s, 439s, that gets heavily absorbed with offer activity and price can't stay above it, and maybe you quickly come back down into value, we'll short it. See, kind of like that. Kind of what it's looking like it wants to do right now. All right. Sell it. 436 and a quarter. Stop. 441. Oh, I didn't sell enough. You moron. Now you're getting worse fills. 436 and a half. There we go. Hit the wrong goddamn buttons. Or I had the wrong size on when I hit the button. Didn't hit the wrong button, just had the wrong size when I did. So this is just a move back to 430. That's all this is. Well, at least that's what I'm playing for. 431, actually. Keep it simple. But I would like to get the rest of mine in at 436 and a half. Without getting stopped, please. I rotated into 436 and a half and didn't fill. You bugger. You bugger. Yeah, it's struggling to get above 436 at the moment. Lots of activity on the offer. Not really getting anywhere. I mean, I rotated into 36 and a half and I didn't get filled. They rotated on MES. And just leave it. Not chasing it down or anything. I don't really like the fact that you're kind of rejecting this. You move down into 434s and you're pushing out at 434s. But it's not heavily imbalanced on the bid, though. It's pretty balanced. it's anemic up here again, right? It's absolutely anemic. You're at 1300, 15 seconds. You're gonna get above 2000 because you're hovering at running out of volume up here. I mean, maybe there's more volume peaking above. Still have not gotten filled at 36 and a half. Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, you can maybe make an argument for 436. Now it's just going to go back to 431 before we even have a chance. Oh, oops. 430. Coming back up. Coming back up. Let's see. All right, still at 436 and a half for the second part of the fill. Again, don't necessarily like the rejection, very quick rejection of getting back down towards the POC. Right, it was pretty balanced. Like, yeah, this might move outside now, right? Because this is more flattish. Let's see what happens if we get volume moving out here. We'll just scrap it and be even for the day. Kind of run out of time. Yeah, you're getting a little too much volume up here, folks. A little too much volume. Yeah, just be all in the offer and stay below it, man. All right, let's start scrapping. Yeah, there's activity on the bid up here. This is crazy. Exit. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. All right, so we're essentially even for the day, I think, now. Lots of activity. This is the place where you probably want to short now. All right, all this activity on the offer. All right, it's pretty heavy activity on the offer. It's pretty heavily imbalanced. But you're not really holding below it. Getting some activity on the bid at the highs. Yeah, I think we're just done for the day. 1050. Let's just be done. We're about break even, slightly positive, I think. I'll check the report when I cut the stream. But good job today. Keep it easy. It's Monday. Let's not get too crazy. Hopefully the rest of this week will pick up. We'll get some more news flow, and then the markets will really start to move. Yeah. All right. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. If you tuned in, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning bright and early at 9:30. All right. All right. All right.